Let's look into cars. We have we have a few experts on cars here, so that's exciting. I don't even know if Jürgen and Greg have met before. However, future of cars. That's maybe another way of seeing a car. A car is a device on the street. When you understand that the future of car is not about mobility, it's not about transporting people or goods, but about something that's on the street, a device on the street, you look at it from a different angle. Because a car is basically built to stay in motion. Oops. And when you see as the car is a device on the street that's built to stay in motion, you can actually see it as an asset, and that should make money for you as an owner or for someone else who equips the car with sensors where the car is mining information that's valuable. And we're going to talk about the concept of ownership. I grew up with this idea of owning stuff. You should own what you use. And then my children grew up with this idea of access versus ownership. Why do I have to own a car when I don't use it half or most of the time? I just want to go down on the street and take the next car available, drive around, drop it wherever, and don't think about it. And the idea of access versus ownership makes a lot of sense. But when you understand that a car is a device on the street in the future, and you might have 4 or 5 cars, but when you go down on the street and need one, you might not take one of your 4 or 5 cars because they're busy making money for you. You just take the next available car. And that's called distributed ownership. So it's not about using what you own. It's about understanding what are the things that I own that should make money for me. And you might own an apartment, but where you live is a rented apartment because your apartment makes money for you. And you don't live in your own apartment. It's a different setup. It's a nice best of both worlds, I would say. So much about that. And as I said before, when it's a device on the street that's built to stay in motion, I think that's the competitive advantage of Volkswagen versus Tesla. They have way more devices on the street. I would not invest my money in making the car better. I would invest my money in producing a box that I put in every car, and that box is a general data mining data mining box, open source, where people can figure out what information would I like to gather and mine and sell and create an operating system, a market space for information for mobile devices, such as weather data, for example. I know from a friend who's working in an AI company that wind turbines have to predict how much energy they're going to deliver to the grid in 2 hours, but weather data only provides them with information for 90 minutes. So they have a 30 minutes gap where they have to put a bet. And of course, they don't want to lose money because if the wind drops, they can't produce the energy. They have to buy the energy to feed the grid, because if they don't feed the grid, they're dropped out of it. So they're be very careful of not putting high bids to risk that they have to buy the energy to feed it into the grid. But with devices that are in motion, they can probably get a very accurate information about the weather that's, I don't know, 2 hours away from me, because I don't have to rely on stationary weather sensors. I can rely on weather sensors that I can pick from anywhere I want in the distance of 2 hours from that weather engine. And that's just one example. And of course, when we look into the fact that cars are built to stay in motion, we also have to understand that everything that makes the car stop will disappear, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that the car parks in the best area of a city. When you look into the parking lots, it makes sense that they are downtown, but at the same time, this is the most expensive real estate in the city. How much, I don't know, I don't have the data, but it would be interesting to look into the percentage of real estate that's blocked by garages in downtown areas in the world. This doesn't make sense, right? The car stays in motion, it delivers people, it drops off people, it delivers goods, sorry, it drops off people, it drives off again. So that also means that we don't have garages. And petrol stations, same thing. A friend of mine that I speaker coach for a TEDx event works in the solar industry, and he told me that 4 years ago they have found a new mineral with the efficiency factor 4T to get more energy out of the solar cells. So very soon, I guess the Skene, or I don't know how soon, but soon enough, the Skenes of cars will be solar cells that produce enough or mine enough data, enough energy to keep the car in motion, or induction, or other methods of providing the device with the electricity, the power it needs to stay in motion.